Hello and welcome back to the Ramswriter podcast. As always, I'm your host, Simon. Joining me, as always, is Chris. Chris, good evening. How are you, mate?
Good evening, Simon. Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, not too bad. And we also have a very special guest with us today. It's Derby County Ladies head coach, Samantha Griffiths. Sam, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good to have you on the show. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going, what, women? He doesn't normally talk about women. Well, we are now. Chris has made that clear that that's what he wants to do, isn't it, Chris?
Well, I'm a massive advocate of women's football, being involved in the past, and I've known Sam briefly, and it can only get better now. Yeah, we're now European champions. We've got a fantastic setup that we'll talk about with Sam locally, and I think it's now our opportunity on this podcast to raise that platform and raise the bar, and most importantly, make awareness to everybody. There's not just one Derby County football club. There's two Derby County football club teams, both successful and both excellent, and should be there to be supported.
Brilliant. So, Sam, for obviously those who don't know you, do you want to give yourself a little introduction? Sort of, how did you get into women's football? Obviously, you were a player for us, and now obviously you're the head coach.
Yeah, so I've been involved in football ever since I can remember. Unfortunately, my age probably tells you that I was of the generation that it wasn't as popular. I was never allowed to play at school. So yeah, I was pretty much sort of grew up playing, did my ACL back in 2015, which kind of ended that career. But I've been involved in coaching since I was sort of 16. Worked for the FA for sort of the past nearly 15 years now. So been involved in the game in playing capacity, coaching capacity for sort of quite a while. And yeah, when I did my knee, Duncan sort of asked me if I'd be prepared to take kind of the next steps into coaching, managing, which all came pretty quick, to be fair, because although I'd done a lot of coaching, I'd already got my A licence by then. Managing was a whole different experience. So yeah, I completed my fourth season with the club last year in terms of managing. Obviously, two of them were COVID hit, so actually only successfully finished two seasons. So yeah, looking forward to next season now, especially off the back of the weekend.
Well, it was a good season last season. I think we came second, didn't you?
Yeah, we finished second, the highest points, highest ever finish. So yeah, off the back of what had kind of happened to the men's club, that was a real kind of positive for us last season.
Definitely. And obviously as well, we'll talk about the Lionesses. Obviously, we mentioned it on the last pod, didn't we, Chris? We said we'll have a little chat, and it ended up being a good 20-minute chat about it. But the Lionesses, and you've had your hands on the trophy, I saw.
I have, yeah. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in work yesterday, and the trophy had arrived at St George's Park literally as I was eating my dinner. So yeah, we were all lucky enough to get hands on it. It's very heavy, might I add.
So what do you think then now, obviously with the Lionesses' success, what needs to change to get to, so we can use this as a platform, as a leapfrog now, to get women's football on the map even more than it is now going to become?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it for years, to be honest. It's been something that's been ongoing around how do we create a legacy off the back of sort of tournaments that have kind of had success in the past. Obviously, nothing as big as this. And I think the word legacy has been used so much over sort of kind of since Sunday. And I think it's got to start from the bottom up. So I've seen a lot of advertisement around the WSL games now, so like off the back of this, get down and support the WSL, but I think it has to go lower than that. I think it's got to be, obviously our league made up kind of 7 tiers, and it's got to be supported right from that tier 7 kind of up to the top. Hopefully investment and things like that. I mean, we've been quite fortunate that already off the back of the Euros, I was speaking to some people yesterday that we've had interest in how do we support like the female team more and things like that. So yeah, hopefully it'll just be something that will naturally happen. I've seen obviously today that the Lionesses have come out and sort of written to the government going, we've got to get sort of female all girls playing in schools. But like I say, I think the biggest thing for me is investment, support from the men's club. So if you are attached to a men's club like us, social media is massive. Just one tweet off the main account, or one tweet off the new owner, or one tweet off a player, all of a sudden everything kind of goes nuts. I still think we're very much at that stage that the men kind of lead the way, if that makes sense. They've got thousands and thousands more followers than kind of the women on Twitter. So that sort of support that don't really cost anything, to be honest, I think is massive for women's club. That's that social media side of it.
I mean, has it affected, obviously with the main club being in administration last season, obviously David Clowes coming in, has he spoken to you? Because I know he's obviously said that he sort of wants to sort of, keep the women and bring the women sort of into the club. Because I know, Chris, you've said at this moment in time, you've spoke to some of the, especially the academy girls, and they don't feel like they're part of this club. Well,
I was Sam might remember, I was an academy coach for the under-15s. I was the coach at under-13s and went in with Zoe into the under-14s until, unfortunately, illness made me have to pull out of this situation. But I was saying, Sam, that the girls always never quite felt as if the badge, they belonged to it. And I think the circumstances with the previous ownership didn't help. And I was saying to Simon, I've been using this podcast now for 3 or 4 episodes to relay that I still think there's a big gap between the boys' academy and the girls' academy. And I know we're not putting you on the spot because obviously you represent the football club in the higher echelons, but I've been saying now that when I was a coach, one of my biggest frustrations was the girls didn't get the entitlement and the quality of facility that I duly believe their talent deserves. Do you feel the same, that now one of the biggest problems is the facility isn't available to the girls' game as much as the boys' game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, we are fortunate enough to train kind of at Moor Farm, which is great. But that only came sort of was it last year? I can't remember now, but it's something that's been sort of recent. We certainly haven't been there kind of since I've been there from the start. So yeah, I do still think there's a bit of a gap. I do still think, in answer to sort of Simon's question around the new owner being in contact, as far as I'm aware, I've not sort of heard anything, which is probably a little bit disappointing so far. I appreciate there was a lot of stuff at the club to probably tidy up, clean up, and again, whether we like it or not, we probably imagine we're right at the bottom of that list to kind of speak to and sort out. So yeah, things have slowly. Obviously, we've been involved in kit launches before. Unfortunately, last year we didn't have the same training kit, so we had a different training kit to the men, and it was something that we raised this year, going like, we need visually to attract players. When players come, they want to feel they look the same and that sort of thing. So we raised that. We're still waiting, obviously, kit at the minute because there's all sorts of issues with Umbro and everything else. So, but yeah, in terms of the academy, I get that. I get exactly what you're saying. I commit sort of to doing some bits with the academy. I spoke to Dave about I want a closer link with the academy this year, so I'm due to go down 4 times this year to do some bits with the coaches, just try to align the first team with that a little bit. But yeah, I honestly think if all male clubs, the parent clubs at the minute, if they're really honest off the back of the Euros, do they all do enough for the women's arm? I'm not sure they do. I do think there's probably more. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know. But I think the women's game's moved on that much now. It's more than just wearing the same training kit or just training there or just wearing the badge. There has to be a real synergy, a real togetherness. And like you say, you only have to ask players, ask staff, do you feel a part of the club? And you'll probably get your answer.
Yeah. Sorry, Simon. I 100% agree. I think one of my biggest frustrations as being a Derby County women's coach in the season, where we were very successful and we won the league and we played in the year above. We beat Forest in the final to win the age group. My frustration was, Sam, that we played at Olsen Park, and to get the girls to be motivated to play there, with all due respect to what I know the amazing amount of work David does at the academy. It was always difficult for us coaches to be at the racecourse at Olsen Park, and then we played Leicester City the following week, and they've now got their own academy facilities. You know, the Leicester City have given the old academy solely to the women, and they've got Emil Heskey running it now, and each particular age group has got a pitch that is dedicated to their team. And the coaches, like you mentioned your connection with the academy this year, and I think that's great. I saw you down at the trials, which is a really, really good thing to see. And also I know you've got Kieran on your staff, and I've known Kieran, we coached together a couple of years ago, and I've got a lot of time for Kieran. How do you see the future? Do you believe that there is now a time to integrate the academies? Because I believe personally that there shouldn't be any difference. I believe that Moor Farm is big enough to allow everybody to have a part, even if they share the pitches. I know you do an amazing job at Mickleover, but I just always found it difficult to motivate the most amazing girls to play at the highest level on a pitch that, let's be honest, in the middle of December wasn't fit to be played on. And do you find that frustrating as ultimately you're the go-to lady? I know that when I was coaching, the girls always say, I want to play for Sam, I want to get in the first team, what do I have to do? But then giving them a facility that they can't prove themselves was my biggest frustration.
Yeah, no, and I get that. Like I say, I've been down to see a couple of the academy teams this year. I was down watching the 18s at the end of the season with Hannah, because I was doing some work with her for UEFA B, and it probably opened my eyes, to be honest. That was at Elveston Park as well, where it was like, wow. I think the challenge that we have, I think, within the club, which does help, and again, don't know if I'm speaking out of turn or not, but obviously we have an academy and an RTC, which at some point this has to either become one, or, because in my opinion, whatever the RTC, which is classed as the excellence programme that sits under the FA umbrella, they will always probably be prioritised by the club more than our own academy, because we're probably still seen as grassroots. They've just applied for like the new ETCs, which are the emerging talent centres. I think the RTC have managed to get that. I really wanted us to could apply for it. So I think until that bit's kind of sorted or bought in-house or something, that will always be a challenge of prioritising the academy girls to get them probably what they deserve. And to be honest, through what I've seen, I don't think there is that much difference in the two groups in terms of ability and stuff like that. There's just a whole bunch of very good female players there that quite rightly so deserve to wear the best kit, wear the best facility, play at the best facilities. And rightly so. I think if you look at Moor Farm, it's massive. It's probably one of the biggest academies. It's a Cat 1 academy. They have some of the best facilities across the country. But again, we get it 8 till 10. The hours aren't great. They're not that great for. We're potentially signing a player at the minute from Man United. She lives about an hour and a half away. She's only 16. So for her to finish training at 10 o'clock and be getting home at 11:30. So these are some of the internal battles that potentially we're having at the minute in going, like, our senior players probably deserve to have better training times as well. So yeah, I can only say that I echo and feel your frustrations with it.
Yeah, because this was the point that you made, didn't you, on our last show, was, I think there's something like 14 pitches at Moor Farm. That surely is enough for not only the men's, but the women's and the academies to all be able to share and play on that pitch. And one thing I brought up was, surely if you're, wanting to progress, because obviously that's, as a women's team, you want to play in the WSL. That's obviously the ultimate goal. Chris mentioned it.
We do. I think that this is the question at the minute is, and this is the question that we're wanting sort of answered and asking, do the men want us in the, because it costs a lot of money. So it is, we could, if we'd have won the league last year, I'm not sure we'd have been in a position, the men would have been in a position financially to support the input, like financial, that you have to put in to play championship. So I think this is where our vision, the men's vision, it kind of has to be aligned to where do the men, because at the end of the day, they're the ones, that's the umbrella that we sit under. Where do they want Derby County Women? Are they happy for us to stay at Tier 3? Do they want a 5-year plan of going, no, we want you in the WSL in 5 years? And these are some of the conversations that I think probably might be going on at the minute. I'm a little bit removed from it, to be honest. I just turn up on a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday and try and do the best I can.
Yeah, because I know this. I mean, this is what Chris was saying. Imagine in 4 years having a Derby County lady representing England in the Euros.
Yeah.
That would be massive for the club and the city of Derby.
Yeah, and look, we've had them come through the RTC before, but unfortunately we lose them because they go on to play Championship as opposed to wanting to probably stay at kind of tier 3, which again is understandable. And we've always said until we can get to that next level, it's always going to be hard to keep hold of your next generation England stars, if you like.
So what would happen then if you finish top of the league, for instance, this season? Would you be promoted to the obviously the Championship, or would you have to stay at the level you are?
So you play a playoff. So Wolves won our league last year. They played in a playoff against Southampton, who won the Southern. Southampton won, so Wolves stay in our league. Southampton get promoted to Championship, but along with that, you have to have off the pitch proof. So you can be as good as you like on the pitch, but if you don't hit certain criteria off the pitch, which is around finances, facilities, access to different things, then the FA can turn you down.
Right. I mean, didn't when the WSL first came about, didn't Derby apply?
Yeah.
To join that.
Yeah, we applied twice now, and been rejected for various little things. So yeah, yeah.
Simon, I find it staggering, to be honest. There's a similar situation. He's going to hate me when I say Sam in basketball, because
again.
I've been involved in professional basketball for a long time, and it's the same with the Trailblazers. We play at NBL 1. And the reason we don't play in the BBL, despite our success, is because financially, the implication is you just can't afford it. And I do believe, again, this is a disparity that, as Sam said only a few minutes ago, the club has to have a long, hard look at it. Because I personally believe there is room for WSL football club in Derby. The facility is there. I think Mickleover are doing wonders for the girls. I really do. I think there's always improvement. There's always can be improvement. Going back to what you're saying, Sam, about bringing players through into the first team, I believe that you have 7 in your squad at the moment that have come through the academy. Or I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, you're probably about right, to be fair. And we've took another 2 this year that we've stepped up from literally the devs and had them a shirt printed, so they're kind of fully integrated in the squad, both 16. So obviously the impact of what happened with the men last year is we've lost, I think, 8 players from last season, which is a bit of a blow. So we're looking to rebuild the best we can this year. Probably be a little bit different this year. But however, I've still got every faith in the players that we've got, the youngsters that we're bringing through. So yeah, looking forward to the challenge this year.
One of the questions I was going to ask regarding that is, you play on an AstroTurf pitch every other week, and then obviously you play on grass. How do you find that preparation for your team each week? So obviously the ball's going to move smooth. I've coached on the Mickleover pitch; it's lovely. And then you'll go to a grass pitch that may not be as fluent with your style of play. How do you adapt to that? Is it difficult?
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, there's probably a few more teams now playing with 3G pitches than what there was previously. So Forest have got they play on a 3G. There's a couple of others, but then like your Loughboroughs that play on grass, but it's like a bowling green anyway. It's like playing on Pride Park, to be honest. So the standard of pitches have got better. Some can be a challenge through the winter. And yeah, we like to try and play a little bit last year, and that did become a bit of a problem when you are used to the ball rolling quite nicely. The girls get used to sort of the spaces, the distances, how much power they need to put on passes, and then obviously when you turn up to pitches that are a little bit churned up or cut up or dry in the summer, it does probably affect the way you play. But I think that's just something that we accept and that we have to kind of adapt to, I suppose.
Would you prefer to play at Pride Park, or are you quite happy playing at Mickleover?
We've played at Pride Park a couple of times. We always play Pride Park when we play Forest. We play at Pride Park. Our problem with Pride Park is I don't see it as a home fixture. It's amazing to play there, but it's very different for the girls. It's a different environment. It's a different feel. Don't get me wrong, like playing there and winning is unbelievable. I think we got, I don't know, there's just over 2,000. I think this year it was probably one of the lowest attendances when we played Forest. But to have those at Mickleover and have that atmosphere at Mickleover, I would really like. We play some night games at Mickleover, and under the lights, it's we had about 600 there against Stoke, and the feel and the buzz for the girls it felt full. I think the issue at Pride Park was it probably still felt quite empty.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, it is unbelievable to play there, and the pitch is amazing and it's great for the girls. But I do enjoy playing at Mickleover. Maybe that sounds old fashioned or whatever, I don't know. But it has got a real home feel for us there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, yeah. I mean, I've played at Mickleover before. I know it is like playing. Like you say, it's like playing on a carpet. I mean, where do you see the ladies going this season? Obviously, I know you mentioned you might have a few struggles with recruitment and things like that, but you know, it seems like you're gaining momentum at the minute and sort of getting better and better each year. Do you think you can go one better this season, or do you think it's going to be like, I suppose, the men's, if you like, and going to be a bit of a rebuild?
I hope so. I spoke to the girls the other night, and they know who we've lost. But you only have to look at the men last year. If they'd not got the points deduction, they wouldn't have done half bad, and they were full of a group of kids and just players that went out there week in, week out with heart, desire, and sometimes that'll be anything that's kind of put in front of you. And I genuinely believe we've got that in the players this year. The ones that have stayed, they've showed that they're here for the club. They play for the badge. And I have every belief that every one of them girls will give 100% every time they step out on the pitch. So yeah, we're still here to compete. We still want to be up near the top. So yeah, that's the mindset that we're fully going into the season with.
Yeah, and it sounds positive. Then it sounds like are you ready and raring to go? Obviously, Burnley first game, is it 2 weeks away now?
Yeah, 21st of August, first game at home, which is nice. So yeah, like I say, pre-season's probably been a bit of a struggle. We've had people away, but it's always the same pre-season. So trying to get like what you've got in your head of a starting 11 together has been a bit of a challenge. But again, it's give us opportunities to look at other players, look at other development players. We've seen loads this season through pre-season. So yeah, we've got I think MK Don Sunday, then we've got a midweek against Villa next week. Cardiff last pre-season, and then yeah, straight into Burnley on the 21st.
And already looking forward to it, as I bet the girls are as well. Yeah,
they're ready to go. Feels like it's been a long pre-season. We've been back quite a while. So yeah, it's just a really exciting time, and I think that just exciting for the women's game, I suppose. There's more and more managers in our league that are being offered kind of full-time positions. So that's something else that we compete with. My prep is 2 hours Tuesday, 2 hours Thursday, a few hours on a Sunday, when kind of others out there are getting paid for being like prepping 37.5 hours, 40 hours a week. So that's another challenge that we face. But it is what it is. And like I say, we're ready for the challenge next season.
Just going back to your role with the FA, obviously, did you have an opportunity to watch the Lionesses pre-tournament training? Did you manage to sort of get anything or any advice or take on board what they were doing?
No, I didn't really get a chance to sort of see anything kind of pre. Spoke to a few people internally around some of Serena's kind of thoughts and processes that kind of, I suppose, she goes through, which has been fascinating. And all they talk about at the minute is culture, creating the right culture, creating the right environment, which I think whether you go on your new I2CF, the new level 1, UEFA C, it's something that runs throughout around creating the right environment. So that's something that we're really going to try hard at this year. So yeah, it's been, like I say, turning up to work yesterday and just going in the canteen to grab some food, and the trophy being sat there was unreal. And like I say, it's not just about inspiring the next generation of players. It's the next generation of female coaches, managers, just whole like women's sport in general, really. So yeah, it was it's had a huge impact on everything at the minute, work, Derby. So yeah, I just hope it's something that can keep momentum. Like I say, probably seen it before where the first couple of weeks after something is great and then like a month. But yeah, I think I believe this is a game changer, but we all have to play our part in keeping this going.
Would that be involved with your full-time role as well? Because you're a development officer. So I presume that means you develop aspiring coaches, or are you developing sort of regionals centres for coaching?
No, so my job is fully to develop female coaches, especially around recruiting new female coaches. So I do a lot of work with kind of mums stood on the sideline that turn up week in, week out with the coffee and watch the dad coach week in, week out. And our job is very much to speak to them, give them confidence of actually you can do that too, especially with the increase probably in women's teams over the next foreseeable few months. I think off the back of the Euros, there'll be a lot more females wanting to play, a lot more teams being created. The problem will be is who coaches them, and 9 times out of 10 it will be people going, we want a female but we can't find them. So that's our job, to connect with mums, to connect with ex-players, current players, young players, 14 to 17-year-olds that might want to do the coaching badges, and have a real drive around inspiring the next. We talked about it at work yesterday, that they talk about the players. We need to talk about Serena. Who's the next Serena? Like that's got to be our kind of go-to.
Just on obviously the tournament, there was record-breaking crowds. Do you expect, especially now with season ticket holders getting in free, to see bigger crowds at your games?
I hope so. I genuinely do. And time will tell with that. But again, it comes down to whose job that is, who's marketing that, who's pushing that, who's in and around the schools. And this is what I say, when you have full-time people employed by the club solely for the women, it makes such a difference, because they have the obviously time and energy and investment to put into driving some of that stuff. So again, this is where it will be interesting to see what the club do over the foreseeable, if there is anything that they want to go, look, we do need to invest into giving someone a full-time role in driving this sort of 40 hours a week, as opposed to where we're probably at the minute, where it's not quite there yet.
I agree with you, Sam. I think you used to have Faye Nixon was involved, and I worked for Faye for many years at Derby, and she's a great loss to Derby, and I wish her all the best in her new career. She was a very strong advocate of exactly what you said, and I think that passion and that prowess has never quite been replaced yet, and that's no disrespect to the club. And I do believe that is one part that needs to be looked at. One thing I've also found with the ladies' game is it's a very difficult time slot to get the biggest achievement of crowd. You can get, like, the moment you play on a Sunday, I believe. Is it around 2 o'clock kickoff?
2 o'clock, yeah.
Do you believe that is? I've always been an advocate that if they could slot the ladies' game whilst Derby were away at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, do you think that would improve it? Or do you think there's an option to do that? Or do you believe that Sunday is the home of women's football?
Well, I suppose that's where the WSL is different. They don't play Sundays. They pretty much play, well, they either play Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. They have a lot more flexibility. Like, every one of our games is Sunday, kind of 2 o'clock kickoff at tier 3, unless we obviously play the odd night game. Whereas I think that's probably what they've tried to do with the WSL a bit. I think the idea obviously originally of that was to be played through the summer, almost out of season. So why fans had got nothing to watch, they would go to that. But obviously that didn't kind of last long before they kind of brought it all back in line with a winter league. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to say the WSL and Championship gets more people because they play on a Saturday. It could just be that they play at a higher level and more people want to go and watch that standard as opposed to kind of tier 3. Yeah, I think pretty much tier 3 is just renowned for Sunday afternoon football, kind of 2 o'clock kickoff. It would be interesting to see if there's ever been any research or anything done into that side of it to see if there is a better time date that people would turn up to watch.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we put it out about. There was a couple of questions we got for you from a couple of obviously the male fans, but one of them was, what would you want from the new ownership, and how much would it take for Derby to reach the WSL?
Well, that's the golden question. It's something that I've always said in terms of the money side don't really interest me. They could throw all sorts of money at it. It's what we've already talked around how they help professionalize us. It doesn't overly cost them, like I say, to have a joint social media account or to be more proactive on their social media account. It doesn't cost them for us to use their facilities or to be on their facilities. Travel, we currently travel in cars to every away game. We don't get access to buses or anything like that, where there's other clubs in our league that travel on first team coaches. It's those little things that make a big difference to us, that professionalise a club without costing a huge amount of money. Obviously, to play in the WSL, you need a playing budget that can be anything from $500,000 up to 5 to 10 million, depending on how successful you want to be. But that's obviously to pay your top players to play for you. But I certainly think there's a lot more that can be done to professionalise it that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. I like this question. If you could meet the FA of 1921, what would you say to persuade them not to ban women or clubs to protest the ban?
Wow, what a question.
You know that's off, Sam, don't you?
I did see it. I don't know. I think there has to be an appreciation around the generations that have come through. I just don't think there's any hiding of the fact that how quickly the women's game has picked up momentum over the years. I've seen it change dramatically in the short period of time that I've been involved with it. But I'm sure those people look back and go, yeah, that probably wasn't the smartest or whatever. But like I say, I think the only thing that we can hope for is that we've changed the mindset of that generation, and we have to look forward now and go, the new generation coming through will grow up in a different environment with different role models, which can only be good for the women's game.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I've got one more. This one's from Facebook. It says, to be honest, it leads to obviously what you were saying regarding like the social media aspect, things like that. But it says, can't they make a calendar like they do for the men? And my argument as well for this is, why can't they sell the women's shirts in the megastore? Like there was a goal, I think it was last season's goalie top. I love that. I wanted that, but where do I get it from?
Yeah, again, I don't know. I don't know I don't know the challenges, the reasons, and this is what I say in terms of to have somebody full time within the club that's dedicated to supporting these kind of things, whether it be the marketing, the social media. It's just having that link and somebody who lives and breathes the women, but sat as part of the actual kind of club. In my opinion, is something that's probably desperately needed right now for us to really shift and change and get momentum going. Because I suppose it comes back to, so we see signings. So they've seen a couple of signings for West Brom, and they do it all on West Brom TV. So they get them down to film it all, etc., etc. And I've had people say to me, well, why can't we do that? Why do we just get like a picture of someone? And I go, but who's going to do it? Who actually has the time, or who is paid to meet the player, take them down to the whatever? And this is what I say, for me, there's a real need in terms of dedicating some hours to really driving this club forward and professionalising it as much as we can.
I said the same, Simon. I actually offered my services a few years ago when Jenny was managing the club before your time, Sam. I had a couple of good chats with Jenny. She's at West Brom now, I believe.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had worked in professional basketball, and I had a similar problem with the Derby Storm back in the late 90s, early 90s, where we were struggling to compete with other sports in the area because Derby's a small city.
Yeah.
One thing I found marketing the club, and this is something that I spoke to Jenny about, and I'd happily speak to Derby County women now, is that I don't think there's enough emphasis on junior girls. or year 7 girls. There is such a wonderful abundance of talent who want to play football. But you go down to the racecourse on a Saturday morning, as you know, and there's a girls' league which is fantastic. But it's to get the marketing out there. Surely you've got to go to the grassroots, which is the schools, because if the schools don't promote women's football and girls' football, how are they going to understand where to watch, how to play? And do you think that there isn't enough emphasis put into that level, the junior schools and year 7?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's something that that I've tried to beat the drum about quite a while now, around getting our face, our name out there in terms of the schools and stuff. But again, it comes back to that: who does it? Who has got the time or the whatever to be able to target so many local schools, get in there, give some free leaflets out. And I suppose the challenge is, as well, is how do we I think if you do it for free, you'll always get more to the games. Are the club prepared to have increased numbers for the sake of sacrificing a little bit of money? I saw Bristol City the other day. They've for every season ticket, £40 it is for a season ticket. For 12s and under, they get a free women's Bristol shirt. So in essence, they're almost buying the shirt, but you're actually getting them through the gate at the same time. I thought it was a great little idea. And again, we've got a little group with people on, and I just keep putting stuff on there, constantly going, not telling we've got to do it, but I'm just going to keep showing you like different ideas on what other clubs are doing. And so yeah, I hope off the back of this, it does make people sit up and go, like, I'm sure David Clowes has watched that. Well, I don't know whether he will or wouldn't, but you'd like to think that he saw that Sunday, and you'd like to think there's some part of him that goes, right, what can we do? What can the club do? Because I want to see our women competing at the highest level. So yeah, time will tell with that one.
It sounds like the thing with what we obviously listen to you talk, it sounds like it's not a great deal that needs to change. It's just little tiny steps, and obviously we drilled out this one city, one club. That needs to include you guys as well. It genuinely does. And it's pointless saying one city, one club, or no, one city, two clubs, and one of them we're a little bit shaky about because they're females. No. And obviously, we go back to legacy, as you said at the start of the show. That's now what this has got to be. And this is where I think not just Derby, but there'll be other clubs out there as well that are in similar or same situations to us, to you, that want to be integrated in, with the men's teams.
Yeah, I mean, look, what the men did before the was it after the Euro? It might have been after, where they just put a tweet out around off the back of that, get down, support your local club, and kind of put like where they can get tickets for the Burnley game. We had so many responses from that, so many more than we would have if we'd have put that out off the women's Twitter account.
Yeah.
So like you say, it's tiny little things that make such a difference to the whole club as a whole.
It's all about incentive, isn't it? You've got to incentivize people to get there, and it can go a long way to promote to all aspects of the city. One thing I've always found is that the coaching holiday courses that you have where children go to and soccer stars, to me, there should be a more infusion of female coaches. And I think Derby County Women should be involved with the likes of soccer stars. I know Pat Lyons has been heavily involved with that for a long time. And I just think that every time there is same as I noticed now that the Community Trust have got a few more ladies coaches, which is excellent, but I honestly believe that every time there is a male coach on a course during the holidays, half term, what have you, there should be a ladies coach. And I think that's where I don't like the word diversity. I don't like it at all. It shouldn't be there. Ultimately, it's the rules are exactly the same.
Yeah,
the pitch size is the same. Do you find that you're still struggling to bring female coaches through? Do you still find that they get the same respect as men, or is that always a battle that you continue to fight?
I feel like the female coach is a real problem, like a real problem. We have a real lack of females through various reasons. through them not feeling confident, through them feeling belittled. I was with one of them last night who she just told me, I've quit coaching next year. I'm not doing it next year because of the environment and the way she's made to feel. And she's a level 2 coach. So there's still a lot of this kind of goes on. So there's still some major work to do in the female game, especially around female coaches. And I think, like I say, we just have to work hard to help support and just give them a bit of belief. And don't get me wrong, there's some unbelievable male coaches out there that support females as well. I don't like it when we kind of tar everybody with the same brush. I was always fortunate enough to have grown up and got to where I've got to without ever experiencing any sort of kind of sexism, discrimination. That the male coaches that I've always been surrounded by have been unbelievable. But unfortunately, there's probably still that minority that stop females from achieving, from, we call it at work, stepping over the sideline. And there's some of the barriers and some of the stigma that we've got to break down. You only need to still see on Twitter some of the comments from the Women's Euros or Chloe Kelly taking a top off, and there's still some work to do.
That brings me on to my next question, and that was, do you ever see in fact, first of all, what would you say to those I'm going to say blokes, because they're men that constantly chastise women's football, give you sexist comments, should be in the kitchen, all that sort of stuff. That was my first question. My second is, do you ever see that a woman, obviously Emma Hayes, I know has been tipped before, do you ever see a woman going to manage in the men's game?
To answer your first question around what would you say, I honestly don't have a problem with males' opinions on that sort of stuff. The problem that I have is when they feel like they need to vocalise it on social media. If you don't want to watch the women's game, or if you've got an opinion that the female should be in the kitchen, that's absolutely fine. But I don't feel there's any need to feel like you need to write that and shout about it. That's the bit that I don't get that bit, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know why men have such a problem with it. I genuinely don't. I think historically, you probably watched the women's game. I was probably one that watched it and thought it was quite slow. It was didn't probably do it justice when it was on TV. This Euros was just unbelievable. That the football that was played, just everything about it. I had a bit of a pinch moment where I was like I said, I've been involved in football a long time. I was like, wow, the game has really shifted and it has really moved. And now any male can sit there and go, that was crap, or women can't play football. I just don't get that.
I'd like to see some of these blokes play a long ball over the top and then a finish like Ella too.
Yeah. But look, I think that's something that we go, that is what it is, and there's still work to do around that. In terms of female male managing in the male game, I do. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know who's going to be brave enough to do it. But I certainly think if we keep going the way that we're going, I mean, look at Serena. She's like, people were saying the other day, we shouldn't talk about her as a female manager. She's the best manager that's ever won back-to-back European championships, male or female. So yeah, I would like to think there is a club brave enough out there at some point to take a risk on it. I genuinely think they don't, because of probably the backlash, and probably some of the negativity that would come with it from some of your typical male fans that we've just kind of spoke about. But that shouldn't stop clubs wanting to.
Would you do it if you ever got the opportunity?
Would I do it?
Yeah.
I've probably not worked in the male game enough to probably justify doing it, to be honest. I work with a lot of colleagues at work, females that have worked in academies, worked in the male game, kind of non-league and stuff like that. I would like to edge my bets that I'd do all right, to be honest. I think I'd do all right. I think I know enough about the game. I think I'm quite a bold personality to understand banter, to deal with things. I would never say no, I wouldn't do it. But in terms of your Emma Hayes, it would be really interesting to see if she would ever take anything that was offered.
Just just my real final question for the podcast, because I found this absolutely fascinating. Do you look at other countries and regions around the world and think, why aren't we doing that? Like, I had the pleasure of being involved in the US system of basketball back in the sort of mid-90s, and I love the idea of scholarship and how they implemented their girls and boys into the university in the area, and then obviously they drafted. Do you believe there is tweaks that can be done in the women's game in the UK that we can look from afar and say, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing that? I noticed that you'd signed a player this year, I believe, who's gone to University of Derby, and there's a connection there that you could sort of work more.
Yeah, and I think that will come. So at the minute, I don't know if you know too much about it, but we do have a partnership with the university around a scholarship scheme. So we have two or three, I think it might be three actually, scholarships a year that female players can apply for, but it's only to do the sports journalism course. So if they want to do a sports journalism course, they get it fully funded and they play for us. So they kind of come on a trial with us first to see if they're kind of good enough to kind of play at our level, and then they'll do an interview with the uni. So Ella, we had a few over the past few seasons, but Ella Hilliard, the girl that we've signed this year, she's a Welsh under-19 international. So she's probably, fingers crossed, going to be the first real kind of success story that they will be integrated in the first team. I think some of the ones in the past last season have sort of signed for our development team, kind of dibbed in and out the first team, but we have signed Ella this season as a first team player and a Welsh international, and that's all come through like the partnership and the scholarship with the uni. But I think that could be extended. Like, we probably really narrow the net when we go, it's just sports journalism, that's all you can do. If that's a whole sports course, or you can just come to Derby Uni and study anything, trial, get a scholarship, that's when I think you start to make waves with things.
You see, this is where I think the marketing aspect comes into it, that if you gave them that marketing course and option at the university and that background, this is where you can increase your revenue. Not only are they get an increase of revenue, and you're potentially getting good players from around the UK and around the world, but you're also getting a product at the end of it and the club being promoted. I just think that we need to look at it in a bigger picture on how everyone can get the most out of it. So yeah, it's an interesting subject. Sorry, Sam, I could waffle all night, Sam. This is fascinating.
Well, you're already taking home the match ball tonight because you've mentioned basketball 3 times now, Chris. That's a record for you, that is.
I still kiss the ram.
No, Sam, it's been absolutely fascinating having you on, and I think not only obviously people getting to know who you are and what Derby County Women's about, but obviously it's a bit of an educational process as well. It's obviously the things that you guys in the women's team have to sort of deal with, and the lack of sort of I would say support from the men's, which again we touched on it, and you said it's little things. Again, social media is a massive thing, and even trying to find the website. I've looked on the Facebook page and the website's wrong. And you type in Derby County Women's Team on Google, it takes you to the Derby County page. Now there's a ladies tab there, but it's empty. And it's not going to take long for someone to fill that in whilst they're filling in the first team players as well. And I just think, Chris, he's been at me about this because because of his passion for the women's game. And it has come to the forefront now of everybody's. I mean, you still see it now on social media. The Lionesses Twitter page has gone absolutely mental. I must see about 50 tweets from them a day. They are doing everything they can to sort of, push the achievement on people and get people involved. And, and I think to have you on so, Derby fans can hear your version and your side, I think it's been brilliant for us.
Yeah, no, look, and I really appreciate being invited on. It's great to be able to just chat, really, just chat about where we're at and what we're trying to do. And like I say, we're in a good place. Like I said, I don't want to come on here and sort of make out that we're not appreciative of what we got, because we certainly are. I think that we're just really conscious with the momentum that's going to pick up now. We want to stay competing with your Forest and your West Broms and your Stokes, and we don't want to be left behind as the East Mids team, because probably 4 seasons ago we were front runners, really, probably. We were the first ones to probably do the kit launch with the men, and everyone was like, oh my God, look what the women are doing. And I probably feel it's probably stopped a little bit since then, and we've got to have a real push again now of going. We want to be like that first game against Burnley. We want to be top of the attendance list. We want to go Derby v Burnley, like we're top. We don't want to be at the bottom or mid-table. So we want to be doing what we can to get people to the games, to inspire the next generation. We want the kids to come and want photos with the first team players and sort of be their local heroes. They'll always have the Lionesses and stuff. Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, yeah, just finally then, actually, if there is mums, daughters, young girls listening to this, what would you say to them about getting into football and or coaching as well?
Just do it. It's an unbelievable time. It's a time, obviously, that in history that it will live long in people's memories. And there's probably going to be more opportunities now than ever to join your local Wildcat Centre, what we run at the FA, to join in your local team, for females to kind of get in touch and go, do you know what, I've been hooked by this, how do I get into coaching? There's so much that goes off at county FAs. I was delivering an event last night down at Leicester as part of a CPD event engaging female players, and we must have just sat and chatted for the first 45 minutes about the game on Sunday. It's just just an unbelievable impact that it's had. So check your local county FA sites, get in contact with us, come down and see us, just get behind your local teams.
Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I guess as well, another shout out to schools as well. They've got to play it there. I know, Cara Newton went to the same school as me, and I saw her play just at PE against boys, and she was so much better than him, so obviously she shouldn't play anymore. I think she's a friend of yours, actually, isn't she?
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine.
So I guess it's now obviously one big push, and guys, if you're listening, get down there, go support the ladies. Season ticket holders are free. How much is it if you're not a season ticket holder?
Good question. I should know this. I think it's £5. I think it's £5 for adults, 2, 3 for concessions. It might even be cheaper than that. I don't know. That's really bad.
Well, it's a Sunday afternoon, isn't it? You can go down, watch a bit of football, have a few drinks. Mickleover Sports Club is a nice place to go to.
It's lovely. It's got a real, and this is one of the things we talked about at the games. I was lucky enough I went with work to the England-Austria game, and it took me back a little bit because it's the first football match that I've been to where I've enjoyed the environment and this is really nice. What an atmosphere. It almost felt like, I spoke to a few people going it was almost at a concert. I think the environment down at Mickleover with the clubhouse, it's just a lovely little ground. It's got a great atmosphere. The bar will be open. They do the burgers and everything. I'm not a fan because last time I was there, I played there and we got battered 10-1. And I wasn't, and I was in goal as well. Chris shaking his head. He goes, he was disappointed. He thought, you coached me well, didn't you, Chris? But no, you can't coach me for a cold, wet, rainy, windy as anything night. Just it was one of them to forget. But Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to chat to you. Chris, I suppose it's been nice having you as well.
Thanks, Simon. Always love it.
But it's brilliant. So guys, go on, remember to go and check out a few ladies games this season. Get down, support the ladies, support the women. Hopefully now we can try and get someone to, if they can, get hold of David Clowes, try and get some contact with the women, and just make that little tiny changes that we can really sort of push our ladies team. So guys, thank you for listening. As always, remember to like, share and subscribe, and me and Chris shall see you next time. And as always, come on Derby.